So it's on my GNS3 folder. Well, I'm saying it's on my GNS3 folder, but I don't see it. So here it is. The first thing we need is click on the start button and write down virtual, which will open the VM virtual box. Okay, here it is. That's the virtual box, guys. Now, they changed the version nowadays. If you go and check it when you go to the help about VirtualBox, it's version 6 and above. That's why the interface looks a little bit different than before. So if you watch some of the oldest videos, it will look a little bit different, but all the controls actually are the same. Okay, there are some improvements. You're gonna see it by yourself. Now, the idea to use it is the same. You go to New, okay, and if you would like to see and click less, you click on the export mode. The button which is a little bit below on the left side, and then you're gonna see the same thing, but just you click less. Okay. Now you call them. You call the virtual machine the way you want. In my case, I'm gonna call it Server 2016. I'll say even MS for Microsoft Server 2016. Call it whatever you want. Now here you have where it will be by default. So by default it will be in C, users, your username, and VirtualBox VMSs. Let's open this so you guys to see it, where it will be created. So I'm gonna open it. Here it is. I'm gonna go. Let's move this to see when it's done. So I'm gonna go to this folder, C. Then I'm gonna do users, my username, this one, and at the bottom you're gonna see. Oh, I haven't created it yet. That's why it's not shown there. So when I do create, it will be created here, and you're gonna see it. Okay. Now the type is very important. You choose either Windows, Linux, or other. Now Mac OS 10, IBM OS, OS 2, Berkeley Software Distribution, Solaris, all of these are Unixes. Okay. Other, obviously, you have others like DOS and some other guys. We're not going to do. So it will be, as we mentioned, Windows. So be sure that the type is appropriate, and then the version is appropriate as well. So in my case, I need to choose the server. I'll go a little bit down. Here it is. It says Windows 2016. As you see, there is a 64-bit edition. Some of them, they have 32. Now, if you open and you see only 32-bit edition, that means you need to come to tell me, and we need to go and ask the guys from the IT to go to the BIOS and to do something for you. That means your virtualization hasn't been started in the BIOS. Okay? If you see 32, the most probable reason will be this. So I choose Windows 2016 64-bit, 2048 megabyte of RAM, or 2 gigabyte of RAM. Well, it's a little bit less. I'm going to choose initially 3 gigabyte of RAM. So I'm going to click. One of the ways is to mark it and to use in megabytes. Remember, 3 multiplied by 1024, 3072, that will be 3 gigabyte. Now, the easiest way is to go a little bit ahead of this scroller here on the top, to click once and twice, and as you see, it's changing by 512 or half gigabyte. So now I have 3072. Notice also the colors here, green, orange, and red. That means if you choose something which is in the orange or in the red side, that means you're going to start affecting your real machine performance. When you go to the red portion, most probably your machine will be shut down, the real machine. So always consider the fact that the virtual machine is part of your real machine. So you always supposed to have some resources, the real machine itself, to work. Okay. Now we're gonna create our hard disk, but if you already have one, you could use it. That's the way. When I'm gonna show it to you now, when you go to from here and copy the file and go home, you to use this file at home as well. Okay. Once again, the file manager stays on the left side, so you guys to see where exactly and how the machines are created, and afterwards I'll show you how they're deleted as well. So I'll do on this one. I'm gonna say create. Okay. And the next thing, now you see VirtualBox VMS folder on the left side just appeared, okay, which is here on the top. And now it will create what is shown inside. As you see, guys, virtual machine is a simple file. It's a very, very simple file. And at the end of this file, the extension is VDI, if you see, guys. And as you see here on the hard disk file types, you have several of them, VHD, VMDK, and so on and so forth. So if I click here VHD, well, it will change the extension here to VHD. Okay, I'm gonna choose the default one, VDA. As you see, it's the default for VirtualBox. VHD is the default one for Windows Hyper-V. If you would like to use it on a Hyper-V, it's a good idea you to create it with VHD. VMDK is the default one for VMware. So if you're going to use it with VMware Player or VMware Workstation, the Workstation, by the way, is the best software if you would like to practice at home for virtualizations. Well, you could use this one. The other ones, especially the QCO, is for KVM or kernel virtual machine, which is working under Linux and Unix. Any questions? We're going to use the default one, 50 gigabyte. Dynamically allocated means it won't take 50 gigabyte right away. I'm going to click here on the left side on the VirtualBox. Here it is the folder for MS Server 2016. You see there is no file yet. Now when I click create here, dynamically allocated as I said, I'll click create. Here it is. The file just appeared on the left side. And my file actually is this one. And as you see, it's 2 megabytes. If I would have clicked not dynamically allocated, it will open right away with 50 gigabytes. Now it will go up to 50 gigabytes by need. Okay, whenever it needs some more space, it will take it up to 50 gigabytes. That's the better choice to use it. Most of the time in production, this thing is called thin provisioning. If you choose the whole amount of the thing, it's called thick provisioning. Okay, that's the professional name. That's how they call it when you use Hyper-V or when you're using ESXi VMware, the best virtualization software for productions. Okay, so here how it has been created. Now, let me show it to you something. Here my recycle bin, I'm gonna empty it. So there is nothing in my recycle bin. Let me open it just to demonstrate this. There is nothing in my recycle bin. Now I'll go here a little bit up to VirtualBox virtual machines. Notice what will happen when I right click and when I do delete, remove. Now there are two choices. Remove only means I'm going to remove it here from the hypervisor, or also called the host, VMware host. So I'm going to remove the guest, the virtual guest from my virtual host. But if I do delete all files, it will delete everything, including this folder here. Okay? Now I would like you guys to monitor what will happen and exactly what will happen in my, that's my recycle bin. Okay, when I do delete all files. Now everything disappeared. What do you see in my recycle bin? Zero, guys, nothing. So you work on your work 3 months or something, you do this, no turning back. Okay, that's why I emphasize and I'm recording this. Be very careful how you delete your machines. Okay, when you deleted it, no turning back, you cannot resurrect it. Your 1 month, 2 months, 3 months of work is just gone. Okay, be very careful with this. That's why I'm showing it this way. Okay, I'll do the machine again. Then I'm gonna choose again 3 gigabytes. 32 in that case. I'm gonna choose wherever I've been offered. I will create it. Here it is again. So these are the files. Actually, if you would like to move something and work for it at home, copy this file, the red one. You don't need anything else. And then you just click at home new. And instead of create a virtual hard disk, you say use an existing virtual hard drive. You go to your, eventually you go to your USB, wherever you put it, this file, you point to it. It's better to not use the USB. I mean, you could move it from here to home to USB, but because the USBs are slow, and if you have several machines you would like to start, it will be very, very slow. It's better you guys to copy it to your real machine at home, okay, and use it from there. So basically, you navigate wherever you copied it, and you start writing. You start working right away. Well, not exactly. Actually, what I'm going to show now, you need to do it again. So, but it's actually easy. You click settings. Now, the first thing what you see general, we already gave the name, the type, and version. We need to click on the advanced option here, the next tab. It's an optional thing. You don't need to do it if you don't want, but it's good to do it because it will make your life easier. Shared clipboard you choose bidirectional, and drag and drop you choose bidirectional. What these two mean? First of all, when I create the virtual machine, I could drag and drop from my real machine and from my virtual machine to my real machine files, just drag and drop, or right click, do copy, paste, okay, which is very useful, right? You could just drag and drop files from your real machine to virtual and vice versa, and you have them right away, okay? But that's optional. Then you go to system, we already designated 3 GB of RAM. Something other optional is to remove, to uncheck the floppy on the top, and with the scroller arrows on the right side to move the floppy to the bottom. It's an optional thing. Don't touch anything else. Display. Well, on the display, always use, when you have a graphical interface, the maximum one. So 128 megabytes is a good to be there. Then choose the storage. Now that's not optional. Anything up to here was optional. Storage is not optional. You need to click on the empty CD. You click on the empty CD, and on the right side it's changing. It's not the same like before. And there will be on the way right side, there is a small CD-like image, and small arrow there, and you click on it. And then you say, choose virtual optical disk file. And then you navigate wherever you put it, your ISO file for Microsoft Server. In my case, it's in desktop, GNS3. Here it is. I'm going to click on this ISO file. I'll do open, and it's there. If I would like to do the same thing on a real computer, I would have an ISO disk. I would have clicked on the button next to the DVD or CD player on my computer. The tray will open. I would put the disk. I will push the button again. The tray will close, and I'm ready to install. That's what I just did virtual. Okay. Then audio, you could skip it. Network, guys. Now, since we're gonna work on the virtual box, it's not very crucial where you're gonna be. If you would like to have out of the box right away internet, well, choose not as it is, not like this, and leave it like that. Notice that you have several tabs, so you could have up to 4 network adapters. So if you need a second one, you just need to click here, enable network adapter, choose again not, and that's all. So if you need machines with more than 1 network cards, that's the way you add more. Okay, so wherever you choose here now in the virtual box as a network adapter, as soon as we import it in the GNS3, you're gonna lose it. And the thing is, as soon as you lose it, you never will be able to use this machine back in the virtual box. I'm recording this. Listen to it, it's important. It's a bug maybe, I don't know what it is. If you create this machine, import it in GNS3, never again you could use it back in the virtual box. Never, ever. Which means either you use it in the GNS3 or you just wipe it out. Okay? That's why once we finish this, we're gonna clone the virtual machine and we're gonna work with the clones. That's one of the reasons. The major reasons of the reason working with clones is because we would like to make everything on this machine and just for 5 minutes to copy it afterwards and use the clone. Easy like this. If something happened with this machine, right click, delete, remove, go to the original one which stays there, ready, right click, clone. In 5 minutes you have exactly the same thing what you've been having before. Easy like this. There is a procedure which I'm going to show you to you today though, and I'll show you why I'm doing it, which is called sysprep in Windows, because Windows is a proprietary system, meaning you need, if you would like to use the system, you need to pay for it. So that they created something which they call SID or serial ID, whatever they call it. I'm going to show it to you. You're going to see it's identical for the both machines. If you don't change this SID, at least for one of the machines, when you try to use them in a more advanced networking things, which we're going to do in the GNS3, they won't work because Microsoft protects their, their product. So we need to do sysprep, and this sysprep actually will wipe out this SID and will create a new one. Then you're going to have completely new clone of the machine. Okay? It's a legitimate process. You just need to do it once you do it, right? At least on one of the machines. Okay? Any questions? So the last thing we need to do is here under the shared folders. I'll click on the shared folders. That's also optional. You click on the plus sign here where it says add new shared folder. And then you click on here, there is a small drop down, and you choose other. What I'm going to choose here is the desktop. What I'm seeing is my real computers. So I'll choose the desktop and I'll click select folder. Then I'm going to say auto mount, which means every time I reboot the virtual machine, this one, the desktop of my real machine, will be automatically mounted there. Meaning when I say automatically mounted, will look like you see on my real computer. I have, this is my home folder 71191, that's my username, which is all the time mounted when I start the Windows. And I could access all of my files remotely, which are staying somewhere in the server. The same way I could access from the virtual machine, I will be able to access my real machine's desktop. And you could add wherever you want. Even some network folders you could add here. This guy to work, and the and here, if you remember the advanced thing we did, the bidirectional, plus if you would like to be able to stretch your machine on the full icon, on the full screen, you need to add the guest edition, which I'm going to show it to you right away after this. This guest edition is supposed to be added, and you need to add it also for Linux machines, not only for Windows machines. So to have all the advanced features working, like once again, sharing between real and virtual machine, having a desktop or something else, other folder shared between the machines, or see a full screen. Linux, Ubuntu, CentOS, Unix, Windows especially, the addition, the guest edition, which I'm going to show you next, supposed to be there. So with all of these guys, our initial installation of the initial setup of our virtual machine has been done, our first one. Now what I need to do is just to click on the start button. I'll click on the start button. Now you see it's creating some logs here, and the virtual machine actually starting to configure. Here it is. Now, if I don't want to see these messages on the top, there are two ways. First is to click on the cross sign where it says close, and it will close it for the recent section. If I click on the KU here, which is the next one, it says do not show this message again. Well, that's what it will do. Never will show the message again. Now, it's pretty straightforward, the installation of Windows Server, very easy. The first one, you just click next. You don't do anything else. You do install now. It's very, very important, guys. That's the most important part. You have 4 choices here. 4 choices. Now, standard evaluation. Standard evaluation in brackets desktop experience, which means GUI or graphical interface. If you choose the standard evaluation, and that would be our, well, not that one, the one without graphical interface, that will be one of your homeworks you to do. Plus, we're going to do it the next time, most probably, or maybe today. Most of the Windows we're going to install without graphical interface. And I'm going to show it to you how you to use the graphical interface to go there and to use it. Why? First of all, it's very lightweight. Whatever we're going to install will be very, very fast. The second thing, the updates we're going to implement, because no graphical interface, will be very, very tiny percentage. If you need to do it on a real machine, I'm going to show it to you, it will take hours on the real virtual machine with graphical interface. That's why we're going to install it without graphical interface. Afterwards, I'll show you it's very easy from Windows 10, even from this one you could access it and use the tools so to see everything in graphical way. Okay, well, we're going to use the moment to practice a little bit of PowerShell for system administrators, which is cool thing. You have it on Linda as well. Okay, so let's go. Now we need to choose for this particular moment the server 2016 data center evaluation desktop experience. We're going to install this with the graphical interface. The next one we're going to install will be without, which will be the third one, Windows Server 2016 data center evaluation. We choose the data center because it has all the functions we need. Okay, it's full of functions. The other thing, while we're using the evaluation system, it will be good for 180 days or 6 months. Well, when you do sysprep, you're gonna return the clock again at certain point, okay? I think, I'm not very sure, but you have much. So I'll do next on this one. Once again, the last one, server 2016 data center evaluation desktop experience. That means graphical interface. Next. I need to accept the license terms and click next. Now, two choices. Well, the first one is not our choice because we upgrade. Upgrade means we have something. We don't have anything, so we just choose the first option, custom. Now, this is the 32 gigabyte hard disk which I chosen the second time. The first time, if you remember, it was 50. And then I'll click next on it and the installation will start. While we're waiting, we're gonna do the same and we're gonna install it without graphical interface. The same thing. New MS server 2016 core. That's how they call it, core. I'll do create. Well, it says 12 gigabytes. I'm gonna choose 20, guys. Choose 20 at least. Okay. Anything else is by default. Create. Here it is. Settings. So I'll do bidirectional, but it won't work because there is no graphical interface, obviously. System. I'll remove the floppy. Now, that's a good thing. I could use up to 1 gigabyte, but for this, I'm gonna go to 2 gigabyte. For the second VM, we do basically the same thing. We remove the floppy and move it to the bottom. On the display, even though you choose the 128, well, again, it has no graphical interface, doesn't matter at all. Well, here we need to choose the empty. We need to choose the disk. And because I've chosen already the Windows Server, it will be here in my list. I just gonna click again and I'm gonna have it. On the network NAT is okay. And shared folders, as you see, this guy reboots. Actually, when it's asking you to press any key to boot from CD, you don't touch anything because the installation will start again. It will prompt you several times this thing. Don't touch anything. If you click, the installation starts over again. Reboot will ask you again. You click again, over again. And again and again and again, and at a certain point you're gonna wake up the next day doing the same thing. Don't do it. Don't click on this one. Okay. Now, as you see, the installation very, very fast. Okay. By default, administrator is still there. In any client version of Windows, it will be prompted. You're gonna be prompted to create your own user. Here, administrator is this. I'll use always the standard password. You know it with capital W and one at the end. I would suggest you for all of them use this password, guys. For all of your machines, it's much easier to resurrect that. It's a lab environment, no one will do something. As you see, as soon as I do it, I'm already there. I'll go to input, keyboard, insert Control Alt D, Del, and here welcome on. You see how fast the installation was. Okay, let's finish this one. Shared folders, even though, well, this one I could share. Again, the desktop. Here it is. Select the folder, auto mount. Always click auto mount, otherwise it won't be mounted. I'll do OK, and I will start. Why here I chosen something, most probably something wrong. Not Linux, guys. It's a Microsoft, of course. You saw me, and you guys tell me exactly what I'm supposed to do, and it's obviously it's Windows, not Linux, right? So you were right. I haven't seen this. So let's see my storage. Let's create the machine again. So the second installation is starting. Here it is. And as you see, my first one has been installed. I will go from the initial settings right away. Let me just do the installation of this one. I'll do next again. I'll do install now, like before. If I go here, obviously I have now the two folders, and if I open this, that's for my server core. Now, for this one, I'm going to choose the Windows Server 2016 Data Center Evaluation, no desktop experience. And I'll do next. I will accept the license term. Next. Custom, install Windows only, which is the advanced one. And I will confirm my 50 gigabyte with next. And that's all. Here it is. This is my original machine. Now, before we do the clones, we need to do several things, guys. Remember, I told you, we need to do several things. So when you create a Windows server with a graphical interface, by default, the server manager from where you're gonna configure your server always will be open. That's with 2016, 2019, okay? So always will be open when you have graphical interface on this. Now, there are several things here. The first one we're gonna go is the local server. I'll click on the local server. It will provide me with a name, which I'm gonna change after. Our work group is either, remember, we spoke about this, two type of communication. Peer-to-peer, which is at the moment, work group, or domain one, which is a client server, which we're gonna go further, okay? Now, the Windows firewall, it's not good practice to stop it. I'll click on this. You see all of this, which is blue, is kind of hyperlinks. So when I click on this one, I'll go here. By the way, the other server, you see just restarting. Once again, don't touch anything when you're prompted. Just wait for it. Here it is. Okay. So I need to stop the firewall because we are in a lab environment and it's not part of the course at the moment. We to deal with the firewall. So we're gonna stop it. Don't do this in production ever. Okay. That's the easiest way, you guys, to go out of a work with the speed of the light. Don't touch anything which is, you know, in regards with the security without tasking. So in our case, we do it here. We're gonna click on turn Windows firewall on and off because, as I mentioned, it's not part of the course way to work with the firewall, and it's much easier when it's off. So I'm gonna stop it and I'll click OK and I'll close it. So if I would like to see immediately what takes effect, here on the top, almost in the middle, there is this round button, okay, which is refresh if I hover over it. And when you click refresh, now it will show it off, okay? Remote management is enabled, that's good. Remote desktop, the next one, it says disabled. We're gonna click on disabled, and we're gonna click a little bit below where it says enable, allow. We're gonna confirm when we see this, okay, and then we're gonna uncheck the box. This, we're unchecking it because otherwise only specific users will be available to use the remote desktop. In that case, everyone almost will be able to use it. And we click OK. Now, I have two Ethernet adapters, if you remember. Here they are, both of them. I'm going to stop one of them, actually. So I'll click on the first one, and it says it's assigned by DHCP. Now, I'm going to go to the Ethernet 2, right-click on it, and I'll say Disable. And you see it will become blurred. I don't want to have two adapters. I just showed it to you how to install it if you need it. Then I'm going to go to my first adapter. I'll do right click, or maybe actually I'm going to click twice on it. And if I go to the details button, I'll see everything what normally I see when I open the command prompt CMD. And when I do ipconfig, empty space / all. I'm going to see the IP address, my default subnet, my subnet mask. If I have a DHCP server from which I'm accessing, the DNS servers, and my default gateway. So everything what's important, plus my IPv6 address if I had one, plus my physical address, which is the MAC address of the network card. All of this is extremely important way to know. Once again, we could do it when we open the command prompt, and when you execute ipconfig, one word, empty space, / all. You could see it right away the same. I'll do close, and I'll click properties now. I'll click on the properties, and I'm gonna go, first thing what I'm gonna do is to stop the internet protocol version 6. I don't need it. Why? Because by default, this is the living protocol there. If something is wrong with my IP version 4, but IP version 6 is on, it will go through the IP version 6, which means I might not see that my system has a problem. That's why I'm stopping IP version 6. So if I have a problem, to see that there is a problem. Okay? So I'll click IP version 6 off here on the checkbox. And then I'll go to Internet Protocol version 4 and I'll click twice. And I'll put use the following IP address. Now, when you see on the top this check like default, it is looking for DHCP server to have its IP address. We're going to speak about this in a separate lesson. That's the way automatically to have an IP address assigned. What we're going to do, because that's a server, we don't want this to happen. We want to have an IP address statically assigned, meaning manually. So I'm going to use something like, I'll click here, use following IP address, and I use the following, 192.168.110. Okay, it's by me, wherever I decide. When I click on subnet mask below, by default, it will use the default subnet mask for class C addresses, because 192.168 is a kind of a class C address before. It's just completing it for me. Then I'm going to say default gateway, and I'm going to choose 192.168.101. You could choose whatever you want, just keep it afterwards when you have a router. Choose this one or change it. Prefer DNS server. For now, I'm gonna use the school ones, okay? Or I could use the Google ones. I could choose here 8. So if I have only 1 digit or 2 digits, me to move on the right side is to click on the space bar. 888, which is one of the best well-known Google servers. Now, if I have more than 2, you see there are 2 at the moment which I could use. But if I would have 2 and more, I'll click on Advanced button, and I could go to the DNS tab, which is the second one. By the way, as you see, I could add more addresses and more gateways. Okay, I'll do DNS, and I could add more. Okay. Any questions up to now, guys? Okay, so that's what I could do. I'll click OK, and basically I have my address. Now the next thing, what I need to do, I'll do it here. Just I'll move this on the top so you guys to see my task manager, my task bar better. And I'll click close on this. I'll close this, and I'm gonna go and check. I'll click on this on the start button. I'll write down CMD, and I'll click enter. Notice that it's opening as administrator by default. Now I'll right click on my icon here on the taskbar, and I'm gonna pin it to the taskbar, which means when I close this guy, it will still stay here, and I could move it wherever I want. Okay, and I will click again, and I will do ping google.com. Well, you see what it says? It's not pingable. That's not good. That means there is something wrong with my network settings, which doesn't work. Okay, but that's not my concern at the moment. The next thing, if I click on this button again, it's supposed to show me now the IP address which I've chosen. Okay, now the next thing, well, I need an IP address, so what I'm gonna do, I'll click again, I'll right click on this, I'll do properties, I'll go to IP version 4, and I'll do again obtain IP address and obtain DNS server automatically. So guys, you know how to do the static after this. I'll do refresh. Now it's assigned by DHCP, and if I check Google again, sure enough, now it will work. Okay, because it gets it for my virtual box, and it is a NAT, network address translation. We're going to speak about this, what it is further. So it's giving it to me. Now, it says last installed updates. For now, we're not going to click here because, as I mentioned, it will take hours. We need to stop also, together with the firewall, we need to stop the real-time protection. I'll click on this, and wherever I see a button like this which says on, I will click to say off. There are 4 of them actually. All of them I need to do off. This is my antivirus. The same reason like for the firewall, I'm stopping it, guys. Okay. Then, well, when I click here on this refresh button, it will say off. Feedback and diagnostic, we're gonna leave. Internet Explorer enhanced security configuration. If it's on like this, when I open the, let's show it to you. When I open this guy, and when I say google.com, something very, very trivial, very easy. and click enter. See what will happen now. I need to confirm. I need to close it. I need to close it. And so on and so forth. So I need to do n time this thing, which is very frustrating. It's a good thing in production. You guys do not have access to internet, or at least almost or very limited internet on your servers. But in our lab environment, we need it for checkups. So we're gonna click here off and off, and we'll click OK, and we never will be asked again for these questions. Okay. The last thing, the time zone, guys. You need to be on the appropriate time zone. The network time, I'm going to show you to the next class how to install and use a network time server, especially when you have application servers. It's crucial. They won't work if they have different times. Okay, so your infrastructure always supposed to have 1 or 2 network servers, or to point to network time servers, which are good, and you guys to have synchronized time on all of your infrastructure machines. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay, so I'll choose my change time zone, and I'll go, instead of Pacific, I will go -5 where it says Eastern Time, US and Canada, and I will confirm. Click OK. And lastly, product ID, it's supposed to show you something activated. That means you have internet connection. If you don't see it activated, that means you missed the internet. You need to be activated, and when you open it, it says here, license available for 180 days. That's very, very important. I'll do some cosmetics changes here. Right click in the desktop, personalize. I'm going to change the color of my desktop. Instead of picture, I'll choose solid color, and I'm going to choose this one. Then here in the search bar, I'm going to write down power. I'll wait a little bit. I'll do power and sleep settings. Okay. And you see it says 10 minutes and we'll turn off the display. I don't want this. I'll click and I'll choose never at the bottom. And I'll close after this window. So you see it's different now. And I'm going to do any desktop different than this one. So me to know it's which one I'm working with at the moment, right? So what else we could do here? The last thing we need, well, the last 2 things we need to do. We click on the devices. Well, actually, that's supposed to be the first thing you do in any operating system. Devices, and you go to the bottom where it says insert guest edition CD image. I told you guys, none of the important function, including the stretching of your screen like this, won't work before you do this. In Linux, Unix, and Windows. So you need to do it everywhere. That's the first thing you need to start, actually. It requires a computer to be rebooted. In Windows, it will prompt you. In Linux and Unix, you need to do it manually. I'll click on the file manager. I'll go this PC, and now the guest edition will be appearing as a CD here. I'll click twice on it, and I'll go to the last but one, which says VirtualBox Windows Edition -AMD64. I'll click twice, and I'll go through the wizard, which is very straightforward. Next, next, install. I'll say install when I'm prompted, and I will wait a little bit. It will say reboot now. I will say I want to manually reboot later, but I need to reboot. I'll do finish. Then I'll go to my server manager, and the last thing, which also requires reboot, computer name. Well, that was one of the first things, but I'm leaving it last because I need to reboot after this. Click on it, change. I'm gonna call it server. Okay, and I'll click OK. And as I mentioned, I will be prompted to reboot, which I'm gonna do now. Restart now. Put it. I'll go input, keyboard. Now, monitor, notice that here it says host plus del. Here it says host plus ins. In VirtualBox, the host key is the right control. This one on the right side. So if at a certain point your mouse gets stuck inside the virtual machine and cannot get outside, you click on the control and it will go out. If it still doesn't work, well, Control Alt Delete will do, then escape just, and the mouse will be out. But most of the time, control, the right control, will work. VMware VMware player and station are the left control and all. Okay, that's for VMware products. Because we're going to work most probably a little bit after this with them. Now, when it says here insert control alt delete and it says host plus del, basically if I click on the right control and del, it will do the same if I go to device to input keyboard and click on the insert control alt delete. That's what it means. Okay. My password, we know it with capital W and L and one at the end. And now if I stretch my machine, because the guest edition has been installed, here it is. As well as if I go to the file manager, if I go this PC, you see my desktop is there. Before this, it wasn't there, believe me. I could right click and eject this CD. I could eject it from here, or I could go to the input here. Well, actually the machine settings, storage, and I could click on the and ejected it from here. Remove this from the virtual drive. But as you see, it's a lot of clicking. Actually, what I could do once again is go here, right click, and eject as a CD, and it's off. And if I click on the desktop, now I see everything what I have on my desktop on my real machine. And I could drag and drop it vice versa. If I go here in my viral, actually not viral, if I go to GNS3, if I would have need, let's say, the GNS3 file, where it is though, maybe, I don't know where it is. Anyway, if I need a file, obviously, I just could go here, right click, copy, and paste it on my virtual machine desktop. Here how it is. And if I would like to keep to, let's say, even move it back, I could just come here. I'll do paste, and it is just appear. Here it is. I just put it on the. Here it is. Okay, easy like this, guys. That's why I did it. The guest edition is crucial though. Without it, you cannot do it. Now, I have a fully fledged virtual machine installed. The only thing which I'm missing at the moment, this machine to be ideal, is to have the updates. Unfortunately, it's a lot of time we need to wait for this, so we're gonna skip it. So what I need to do now, two things. I will shut down this machine. Here it is, it's shut it down. That's the machine. The first thing you need to do, click here on this kind of hamburger menu, which is on the right side, and choose snapshots. Now, the snapshots, guys, are also called shovel copies. Actually, it's like taking a picture of whatever you have at the moment. And that's why, as you see on the top, they have this like camera icons. So if I do take, it will say snapshot 1, and I could explain. Here, Windows 2016 plus graphical interface plus guest edition plus, I would say, everything else, or initial setup, with no updates. So when I click OK, you see I have the snapshot, and I have now the current state, which is the state which I am at the moment. Everything up to this moment has been snapshot and staying somewhere else. Okay, so I have a snapshot. If something happened with the state at the moment, I could always go back to the snapshot 1. And as you see now, I could restore it. I could restore the snapshot. In this way, I could do a lot of snapshots, and I could go to any one of them at certain point if I need it. Now, how I do the last thing, how I do the cloning. I go to the machine, right click, and click clone. There are two ways. Again, I'm going to choose the expert mode because it's less clicking. First of all, every time I do clone on this machine, it will give me the same name. And the second time I do it, it won't allow me because obviously you see I create this on the I create it as a folder, and it doesn't allow a folder with the same name, right? So I need to change the name. That's what I'm saying. And it says where it will be installed. Now we have two choices: either full clone, and then you need to choose on the snapshots everything. It's a better thing because we just did the snapshot and we wanted that, or link clone. The difference between both is that the link clone, we use the snapshot and actually will clone only the part which is after the recent part, which will be extremely fast. Now, myself, and to create full clones. Well, we're gonna practice. We're gonna try with one machine on the linked clone. But for now, choose full clone. On the snapshot, say everything. Very important here, click on the include only not network adapter MAC address and choose generate new MAC addresses for all network adapters at the bottom. Why? The same way, in the same local area network, it doesn't allow you to have two identical IP addresses or two identical names. It will give you an error when there are two machines with the same names or two same IP addresses in the same network. If you have machine with the same MAC addresses in the same local area network, it will complain about this and it won't work. Okay, so this is what you need to do. If you forget it though, no problem with this. I'm going to stop this. Always you could go to the server like that, go to settings, go to network, click on the advanced function. Here is the MAC address here, and next to it there is this small errors here. You just click and the MAC address has been changed. The process is called spoofing of a MAC address, very common. And then I'm going to do the cloning again. Right click, clone, full clone, everything here, the MAC address, and I will click now clone. Okay, once I click clone, the machine will be starting cloning. Here it is. Now sometimes, so here's my clone. It has been created. I started very fast. We said the SUID will be the same. While we're waiting this to start, I will go and look for Windows Server, how to check, actually I'll say how to check SID. And it will show, the first thing what it will show you is this one. That's the command, WMIC user account get name SID. So that's what we're gonna do. I'll open the machine. I'll do right control and del. I'll put my very well-known password. Now, you see here on the top it says it's supposed to be, you're supposed to be administrator. Well, by default, it will open as administrator. So let's minimize this. Let's open the other one. Here it is. Remember, I did my CMD here, and I'll do the exact command. I'll do WMC, MIC actually, user account, get name, comma, without space, SID. I'll click enter, and here it is. Now, believe me, if I open the other, well, don't believe me, I'll open the other machine, which I cloned from. I'll open this one, which I cloned from, this one, the server 2016. I'll started it. So here's it's starting. Here the other one, which I just checked the SID on. Okay, I'll move it like this so you guys to be able to see what's going on. I'll open, control and delete, password. You see the left one is the clone, right? It says clone here. As you see, they look very, very similar, right? And what I do now is open this one and then do the same command. Actually, what I could do on this one, I could right click on the top, edit, mark. I could mark the command. Again, right click, edit, copy. I'll come here, right click, edit, paste. Well, here's the command, enter. Now, you see what it says for the administrator on the top. If you check closely, you're gonna see the number which is here, it's exactly the same. It says 24431774223-500. The same thing. 24431774223-500. So what I need to do is to choose the clone most of the time. Click on the file manager, go to this PC, see Windows. I'll click somewhere inside of the folder and start writing down SYS. And it will go to system. I need system 32 actually. A little bit below, I need to click sys again. And it will bring me to the folder called sysprep. And that's the folder, that's the file. What I need to do right click, run as administrator. And I'm gonna see the sysprep. The only thing which I need to click here is the generalize, which means it will wipe out all the necessary files, and it will remove them and I'll clean them again. So you're gonna see my resulting machine will be a little bit different than the other one, plus this one will be completely different, right? So I'll click here and I'll do OK, and it will reboot after finish. Okay. So I'll do something like this with this one actually while I'm waiting. Okay. And I'm waiting this guy to. My computer is rebooting now, very fast. Okay. Now it will take me from the Windows wizard again, Windows installation wizard again, because that part of this what the sysprep is doing. It is. It's very. You see now it's asking me again. So I need to choose Canada most of the time here, where we are. Here is the Canada. English next. Well, I say accept on all of this. And again, my password. I'll do finish. Restart again. And I'm back. Very, very fast. This now I'll do right control and delete. I'll do my password. And I just would like to repeat the command which is on the right side now. We're gonna see my desktop will look differently now. Well, because sysprep did some stuff. I'll do click here and I'll do CMD. I'll open it. I'll move this guy on the top. Just you guys to see it like before. I'll paste the command here. I already copied. Here it is. And if I check now, you see this, the third octet here, the third part of it says 317 for administrator. Well, if you remember, this one was 244, something like this. You see, that's why we did the sysprep. Now, these two computers, no problem to interact with each other. If I do, let's say, if I do MSTSC, which is the remote desktop connection, let's check what's the IP address of this. IP config. 10.02.15. Well, unfortunately, most probably we're not going to be able because they're not both of them. So I need to do something maybe to connect to them because this guy has the same IP address. Actually, when you use NAT, that's one of the uncomfortable things. It's all the time giving you the same IP address. So let me just try to change the address very, very fast. Change adapter settings.